morning. Congressman Ami Bera is back in his home district this week, and one issue he's focusing on is ending the doctor shortage. Listen it over to you now, Dan, and the Congressman.
Yeah, we're always grateful. Thank you so much for joining us today, Congressman.
Glad to be back on.
We should mention this because a lot of people were saying that under Obamacare there's going to be a shortage of doctors. Some would say there already is, and you've got legislation that might address this.
You know, we just introduced a bill with Representative Mark Meadows, Republican from North Carolina, to address this. You know, for doctors that have come here on visas, have trained within our system, we think those doctors should be able to stay in America, but they should be working in underserved communities, rural communities, so it's of immediate benefit, and it's not Democrat or Republican.
I was going to ask, a lot of opposition, or is it...
No, you know what, this is just a smart, common sense solution. It's been, you know, a version of this is in the Senate bill, and, you know, we think it's just common sense.
I'm going to ask you about that in a minute, but first I want to ask you about student loans, because the clock has expired and now rates are going up. Is there going to be some resolution on this?
Yeah, I certainly would hope so. You know, when we think about the next generation, they're paying more and more every year to go to college, and now to get hit with this double whammy of increasing student loan rates, and they're entering a job market where, you know, the prospects don't look that great for that generation. So let's give them some relief. Let's, you know, come together as Democrats and Republicans and deal with an issue that we all agree should be dealt with.
And is it fair for us to have said, as we have in the past, that if an agreement's reached, it would be retroactive? Is that the way it looks?
Yeah, that's my hope.
Okay. Now about immigration. You mentioned the doctor shortage being addressed in connection with that bill. Are we going to see immigration be passed by the House? Is it even going to be voted on in the House?
Yeah, I certainly would hope so. I mean, the public has spoken. They want us to address this in a comprehensive way. The business community is behind the Senate bill. You know, here in California, agriculture is big for us. They want to see this addressed. The technology community wants to see a smart immigration bill. So there's a lot of momentum and a lot of support. I would hope Speaker Boehner, you know, sees that momentum, brings the Senate bill to the floor, and I think we can get it passed.
Is this perhaps the perfect example of bipartisanship, that if it doesn't even come to a vote in the House?
Well, if it doesn't come to a vote in the House, then, you know, we're not in the majority, so the Republican majority and the Speaker pretty much would have said that, you know, he's not interested in you know, moving this forward in a bipartisan way. But there's plenty of support, there's plenty of Republicans, plenty of Democrats, and let's come together and move this bill forward.
Let me ask you about last week's Supreme Court ruling on both DOMA and Prop 8. We've seen the reaction here in California. What was the reaction like in the halls of the Capitol?
You know, I think most people recognize that, you know, these are fundamental issues of civil rights. These are fundamental issues of equality. So, you know, the folks I'm talking to, we're thrilled that everybody has these basic human rights. And I think that's where the public is. I mean, sentiment has quickly moved forward. Now, you know, there probably are some members in Congress who are still stuck in the past. Let's help them move forward and say this is just a fundamental issue of equality and human rights.
In fact, one congressman from Kansas, I believe, wants to introduce an amendment that would make same-sex marriage illegal, and it would only be between a man and a woman dead on arrival, isn't it?
Look, I don't think any of us think the government should be getting involved in who we can marry, who we can spend our lives with. You know, I think the government should be creating jobs. They should be moving our economy forward. I think that's what we want to see Congress working on.
Now, when you come back to your local area that you represent, not only do you get a chance to hook up with family and friends, you also get to see some of the businesses, and you've been busy in the last couple of days, haven't you?
You know, we're doing this program called Congress in Your Company, and, you know, yesterday we went out to Siemens, which is a large rail manufacturer. You know, they're doing light rail cars, they're doing locomotive cars. They're a major manufacturer in this region, employing over, you know, close to 800 individuals. So, you know, we were looking at the work they're doing. There's some big locomotive contracts that are out there. We want to bring those jobs back here to Sacramento County, back to the 7th Congressional District, and put our folks to work. We went out to visit Aerojet Rocketdyne, which, you know, is the leading manufacturer of rocket engines in the world. You know, all the Apollo missions, you know, all the space programs. So that's right here in our own backyard in Rancho Cordova. So, you know, tremendous manufacturing opportunities. And again, we want to bring those jobs back to this district. You know, we talked about how California has to now start going out there and not losing jobs, but let's bring those jobs here. Let's get California working again.
Almost recruiting.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what? Let's go to Texas and get those jobs back.
Yeah, show Governor Perry the two could play that game.
Absolutely.
Lastly, you're going back to Washington on Monday. What are we going to see next week and the weeks to come? Any major activity from Congress?
You know, hopefully we'll act on the student loans,
okay,
and we'll get that. that taken care of. We saw the farm bill that didn't move through the House. Again, I was one of 24 Democrats that really wanted to see something move forward. Agriculture is really important to California's economy. Hopefully we will get a farm bill that we can move forward, and then the Senate and the House can do their work, come up with a middle ground solution, and we can move forward and get a long-term solution. We still have looming out there the debt and the deficit. Let's come up with a budget. I mean, that is the best way for us to address sequestration and kind of lay out what our priorities are, so we can, over the long haul, start dealing with our debt and deficit and get the economy moving forward. Nobody wants to see a debt ceiling fight again. Nobody wants to see this dysfunction of Congress. Let's do what the folks elected us to do and come up with a budget.
Hopefully you'll be busy back there along with the other members of Congress. And we should thank our meteorologist, Rob Carlmark, giving you a little taste of home with these tremendously hot temperatures. Although, as you pointed out, we're missing something that D.C. has.
The humidity.
Yeah, Rob's working on that.
Exactly.
He's in right now. Tomorrow we're going to change that.
Let's leave that back on the East Coast.
Congressman, thank you so much. Always nice
Absolutely.
to see you.
Happy Independence Day, and it's great. And everybody be safe out there.
Good advice. All right. Kiva?
All right. On News.